United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We have a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Joel. Second?
Second.
You need it?
Well, I was gonna say, should we move, is it possible to move action item B to the top of their list? Since that's why most everybody's here.
Sure, we can do that. We'll go ahead and we'll move action item D to the top of the list. Okay? Did you give the second then, Larry, or was that Aaron?
Second.
Larry. Okay, thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Conflicts disclosure. None? Okay, public communications. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. It's always nice when we have a good crowd at a school board meeting. I'm going to start off today by just a couple comments that we will have before we get, and I will make sure that everybody gets a chance to speak. But first and foremost, the one thing that I want to reiterate as for the community doesn't have to do with our issue in front of us, but to remind everybody that after sporting events, please leave our coaches alone for 24 hours, okay? If you have an issue, please try to let it sit, think about it, contact that coach after 24 hours. Sometimes it might even be better just to contact our athletic director, but that's for the best interest of all involved. We're a small community here. Nobody is against one or another. We just sometimes may disagree, and that's okay. It's good that we all sometimes disagree. If we all agree, we wouldn't be the country that we are 100% of the time. So I'm just going to encourage you, please. Our coaches are young, they're doing their best, and we appreciate the fact that we have our coaches. It is getting harder and harder to find coaches, referees. We have a game now that's on a Saturday night because they can't find enough referees. One of the issues they can't find referees is because of the abuse they take from the fans. So please, if you could do that, that would help us out. And I'm not talking to this group. I'm talking to Bearcat TV and hopefully the Webster Reporter and Farmer, and that they can put that in the newspaper for us. So with that being said, we'll move on to public communications. And I'm going to first let Jim, you go ahead and start off this year.
I wanted to start off first and foremost. Thank you for being here, folks. We understand that everybody has a concern with this particular situation. At last board meeting in September, I made the statement that there were all of the schools in the Northeast Conference were having Wednesday practices except for Webster. And at that time, I believe that information was true, but obviously it's not. We found that out. We were actually able to find that out prior to you guys finding that out. We did our due diligence following that meeting, but and we should have done it prior to that. So I want to apologize to the board for providing information to you and causing conflicts or issues, and I've also apologized to you folks as concerned citizens. I did not purposely intend to share information that was not accurate. I would never do that. I hope I never do that. And I will do my best in the future to prevent that. What I can tell you now is that I've provided information. I didn't have enough copies for everybody, but there's a color-coded chart that I provided. It provides the NEC schools, which is Northeast Conference, on the left-hand side of it, and then other schools on the right-hand side. Now, since this topic came up here in Webster, Nathan asked him to take the time to visit with our Northeast Conference schools, and somehow the question got out to the Northeast Principals Association, which is Secondary Principals Association. And so we had a string of emails that went around, and so those are the results of direct emails that I did receive, and I can tell you that there was even one conflicting school. I think it's only important to note that even within a school, sometimes there's conflict. From the superintendent, he said, no, they're not having Wednesday practices, but the high school principal said, yeah, they are. I've cleared that up. It's accurate as it should be according to the superintendent. So I hope that the superintendent in that district is the correct one. But it just shows you that there's even some misleading information sometimes when we gather it. This is as good as I can give you as today. I won't guarantee any of the yeses or nos, other than I can tell you I received them directly as via email. So again, I apologize for any miscommunication or inconvenience that it caused with that miscommunication. We'll try to make sure it doesn't happen in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Block. And that's the other thing too. Folks, I want to remind everybody, unfortunately this has gotten a little bit heated. Dr. Block doesn't lie, okay? I'm not lying. Nobody on this board is lying. There's been conversations about this. Please don't be spreading rumors around this community that are coming back to the school board president that our superintendent is intentionally lying. That is not the case. We may have had miscommunications, misunderstandings, but every single one of us here knows all of this. So again, I would encourage us to try to lower the temperature than to increase the temperature. I will personally tell you, I did receive an unsigned letter that told me to question about where, I'm guessing every board member received it, where I was going to spend the rest of eternity over this issue. I'm glad to know that, that this is an eternity issue for me. I don't judge other people's Christianity. I was listening to the Philadelphia Eagles lay an egg against the Cleveland Browns, and I was kind of getting fired up. For anybody that knows me, I can get to be an angry Irishman. And I was getting fired up about that unsigned letter. And then they had those nice commercials that come on now. I don't know what it is, but it's Stop Hate. It's these Christian commercials that are trying to tell you to love your neighbor, and they showed all that. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm not going to be mad at the guy that wrote me the unsigned letter. But please, stop saying somebody's lying. If you have an issue, feel free to talk to us. I enjoy the conversation. My phone is always open. Trust me, people can get a hold of me. Those that did get a hold of me on this issue, I do appreciate. I'm confident I'm speaking on behalf of the board. If we can have civil conversations, it is always better and nice. Now, with that being said, I know I said I would make sure that we had plenty of time for everybody to speak. So, Pastor Mike, I believe you were the first one that was going to be the representative of the Ministerial Association. Am I correct on that?
That's right.
Go ahead and let her rip.
We got together as a ministerial, and hopefully we got all the facts right. That's an important thing. We got our heads together, and did you guys receive the letter from the ministerial? Is that forwarded?
Yes.
So you haven't?
Well, so we've got Frone, I got Shannon's letter, I got the Catholic Diocese letter, and I know I received, I think that was via email as we received the Ministerial Association's letter, was it?
Yeah.
Yes.
If it would be okay, it's not that long.
Yeah, go ahead and read.
Okay, Clark's going to go and read that.
Stand up. So they can see me?
Yeah, I'll see this thing.
All right.
Here because of the air back here?
Yeah, we can't hear.
You guys can't hear?
No, we can't hear back here.
Well, I'll speak up. Nobody's ever told me before they can't hear me, so now you've asked for it.
All those that are speaking in that direction.
Yeah, and if those
They're
that
facing
speak
that direction,
would
so
face us
so that you
as
can.
they speak, that would help.
I promise I'll speak loudly, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Listen.
Good morning and greetings to you, Dr. Block, and greetings to the Webster Area School Board. And thank you for affording us this opportunity to voice our concern over recent events regarding changes to school policy as it pertains to the students who are involved in or may become involved in faith-based activities on Wednesdays. We come today along with these concerned parents with deep concerns over the school board's recent stance on changing or eliminating sections D and E entitled Church Night under Section 4 procedures in the high school and middle school student handbooks and policy JFE entitled Activity and Practice Limits in the Webster Area School District Policy Manual, which state respectively for the handbook, under ordinary conditions there will be no school activity scheduled on Wednesday evenings. This will allow each student to participate in any church program of his choice. However, if some activity must be scheduled, it must be cleared through the principal's office and with approval by the Ministerial Association. And then for the district policy, under ordinary conditions, there will be no school activities or practices scheduled on Wednesday evenings or on Sundays. This will allow each student to participate in any church program of his or her choice. Requests to deviate from this policy must be submitted in writing to the principal and ministerial association for approval. These policies make it clear that there is a long-standing existing agreement in place between the Webster Area School District and the Ministerial Association. The Ministerial Association is deeply troubled that this board would take up this subject without inviting us or notifying us of the subject matter of last month's school board meeting. We were surprised to read in the paper about the discussion that took place about us without being invited into that conversation. To be clear, neither Dr. Block nor any other school board member has reached out to the Ministerial Association to get our take on these proposed changes. Our presence here today was not by notification or invitation, but only by our request to be placed on the agenda. This lack of communication displays a breakdown of courtesy and mutual respect, and is not at all what we have come to expect from this school board. In addition, we found some of the comments in the paper about the Ministerial Association concerning. However, we realize this conversation is not about the Ministerial Association per se, but about the kids and families affected. The practice of mutual respect, in which the school system, parents, and local churches partner with each other to foster growth in our children, has been a long-standing tradition in the state of South Dakota and in the Webster Area School District. This is clearly evidenced in the 3rd chapter of the school's educational philosophy, which states we believe that a child's total development is a determining factor of what the child will become. The school, as an important part of this environment, must assist the home, the church, and other institutional programs to help the child develop mentally, physically, socially, and morally and emotionally. And then it's even further evidenced in the school's list of educational objectives, paragraph 11, which states that one of its objectives for students is to be stimulated to develop a system of moral, spiritual, and ethical values. We asked this question to the school board. Has the school's educational philosophy or objectives changed? And if so, why? If it has changed, we're deeply concerned, as it will essentially close the chapter on a fruitful partnership that has existed for decades and will pave the way for further breakdown of trust between the school, students, parents, and local churches. According to Britannica.com, evening begins at 5 p.m. With that in mind, we are disappointed to learn that the Wednesday church policy is largely being ignored or infringed upon, with middle school students now practicing after school and high school students practicing up to 6:30 p.m. We can't help but wonder if this is part of the reason there is such a push now to change the policy, as it violates this agreement between the school and the Ministerial Association. Each congregation represented here today would be affected by the changes that you are proposing, and it is not a small group as you have stated. There are currently 49 middle school students attending Webster area churches on Wednesday afternoons, and 57 high school students attending Wednesday evenings. Many of our pastors have commented how they have continually had to push back Wednesday night church times to make it easier on the kids. This puts added pressure on us pastors, as we feel the need to wrap up our Wednesday night activities early out of respect for the school, realizing that Wednesday is a school night, and these students probably have homework and need rest so they can be fresh for school the next day. We ask this question: if we feel that pressure to dismiss early out of respect for the school, why is the school not feeling that same pressure and affording us mutual respect as church night? We believe that leaving the choice in the hands of students as to whether or not they would choose church or sports is a terrible practice and will only lead to opening the door to more school activities on Wednesdays. We have heard from many parents in our congregations who have stated that if Wednesday night policies are changed, they will withhold their kids from sports or other activities. According to Bondell Rader Alec, who is a mental health counselor and licensed addiction counselor in Webster, the way society is today, kids with part-time jobs may be expected to work on Sundays, and if they do not, they may not have a job. The same is true with school activities, especially sports. If you miss practices, you may not be able to play in the next game. The decision between church and sports is a heavy burden to put on these kids to make this decision on their own, and it sends a terrible message to them. Do we want them to grow up thinking that school activities are more important than their faith? I have kids that tell me we want to be involved in the school activity, but it's on Wednesday nights. And in my opinion, what message are we sending to our kids? It takes people such as parents, teachers, school officials, pastors, and counselors working together to raise kids. We need to realize that kids should not have to make a choice between faith and school activities because it can really affect them mentally and emotionally. It can even lead to bullying and kids bowing to peer pressure because they don't want to be shunned by other kids for not participating in the school activity. History has demonstrated that maintaining a robust Wednesday church policy has little to do with sports outcomes, as Aberdeen, Roncalli, Britton, Clark, Hamlin, and Webster all won 11B state football championship games with a Wednesday night policy in place. Webster racked up 2 state championships and Hamlin won 4 while maintaining the strictest and most comprehensive Wednesday night policy in the Northeast Conference. To say we have learned we are the only NEC school that does not have a practice Wednesday afternoons is not accurate, and I pause to thank you, Dr. Block, for clearing that up. We accept that absolutely. But there are, our research showed 7 NEC schools that do not have practices for middle schoolers after school hours. The Ministerial Association wants you to know that we love and honor our school, and that our students, teachers, faculty, staff, and this board are remembered in our prayers. Together we're responsible for raising up the next generation. We pray that you hear us today as we are desirous to once again return to a spirit of cooperation and communication with the Webster School District and the Webster School Board. It's in that spirit that we would like to urge that no vote be taken by the school board today. However, if a course of action needs to be taken, we would like to put forth the following recommendations. Number 1, a committee be created which includes Dr. Block, the athletics director, and the Ministerial Association to review the current sections D and E titled Church Night under Section 4 Procedures contained in the high school and middle school student handbooks and Policy JFE Activity and Practice Limits contained in the Webster Area School District Policy Manual and work together to propose changes. Number 2, the following changes for clarification purposes be made to the high school, middle school handbooks and the Webster Area School District Policy Manual sections to read as follows. Under ordinary conditions, there will be no school activities or practices scheduled on Wednesday evenings or on Sundays. As a courtesy to church organizations, no student activities, including practices, will be scheduled on Wednesday after school hours for middle school students, and student activities, including practices on Wednesday nights, should be concluded by 6 p.m. for high school students. This will allow each student to participate in any church program of his or her choice. Requests to deviate from this policy must be submitted in writing to the principal and the Ministerial Association for approval. Sincerely and respectfully, the Ministerial Association. Thank you.
Do you have anything else, Pastor Mike?
That was
Okay, thank you. Well, I will tell you, Pastor, I appreciated the letter that you wrote, especially at the end. And I first off wanted to say, on behalf of the school board, there was no slight intended. Kathy Mellon called me, and I consider Kathy a great person. I've deferred to her judgment numerous times in life, and I'll probably defer numerous times again in the future. And she says, you know, Tom, it's just too bad that back in May, this conversation just wasn't had. And I said, I agree. You're right. I missed it. Made a mistake, folks. Okay? No ill intent, evil intent. I agree. It would have been nice in May if we would have started the conversation. So when I read your letter, I also agree with Aaron saying we would move this action item up. I have no problem right now proposing a motion to the board to table the vote for today, to have an opportunity for our athletic director, more of our athletic director, Dr. Block, if need be, can be involved in it, but to meet with the Ministerial Association and see if we can fine-tune this policy. Because I will also tell you, I have had numerous parents that have talked to me on the other side of the issue. And they are afraid to speak up because of unsigned letters. And they've told me that. They don't want to be the one that, and they say that's why you get paid the big bucks to sit in front of the board, you know? That's fine. So there is, I think, competing interests. I respect yours, but I would throw out to the board right now, and we could just move on and say, I would entertain a motion to table this issue for at least another month until our athletic director has an opportunity to work with the ministerial association and see if we can come up with a better solution on that.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So what is our current policy? What is happening? Can you add clarification to what's happening in school activities right now? We understand from parents, but we want the school's official position. Where are you at with practice times for high school and middle school? Can you speak to that?
Is it, let me, Nathan, where are we at with practice times?
Right now, they've been going from roughly 3:30 to 5:30 on Wednesdays, start back in August.
Non-required.
Non-required,
Non-mandatory,
absolutely.
yep, non-mandatory.
So what practices
We
have taken
had-
place so far?
Football, volleyball, cross country. We've had,
right? Not high school, that's middle school.
I've coached junior high girls basketball for a couple of years now. This will be my third year doing that. And we've had open gyms on Wednesdays for those non-church students. And we get half a dozen maybe to show up. So it's not, you can't have an organized practice, but we can work on individual skills. And those would be the kids coming to those that don't have church activities. I think the numbers have been down on Wednesday practices, obviously, because St. John's, for one, I know has activities on Wednesday after school. I don't know about Frome.
Yeah, one year.
Yeah, so I think by and large, those practices have been maybe half or less on a lot of those Wednesdays. I don't know, Coach Peterson, what's football looking like on Wednesdays?
Yeah, I put it up to my parents. Our fall sports meeting was in August, and I said, you know, you have your family, you have your faith, and then you have your academics, and you have your athletics. So if you can make it, you can make it. We have 21 boys out, and I think we get about 8 on Wednesdays.
You know, I will say, we've had even, there's been some instances where kids haven't had church activities and they still haven't been going to those Wednesday practices. And the coaches have asked, well, what do I do about that? And I said, don't go looking for them. If it's on a Wednesday, just assume that they've got a church activity, even though you know they don't, you know, just some of the, you know, it's a small enough community, we know who belongs to which church and things like that, or who doesn't belong to a church, and I still direct them, it's excused. Nothing is mandatory on a Wednesday.
So, as a pastor with a lot of parents affected here, I'd first of all like to thank you, and I'd like to agree with and affirm a lot of what you're saying, because that makes sense. The one question I would ask is, I know the official position is that practices are non-mandatory, but I know from a number of parents I've talked to, they feel like even if that's official position, how do they know that if their child isn't practicing, they're not going to be cut from games more, or that there's not going to be favoritism? I know that's a fear that's there, because it's easy for that to happen even if officially it's not supposed to. And how would that be addressed, resolved? How can parents have some confidence in that?
Well, I have a lot of trust and faith in our junior high coaches. I look at our junior high staff right now, and I think Webster area is in really good shape as far as Mr. Peters and Mr. Leonard's on the football side. My wife and Island J. Cox have been the junior high volleyball coaches, and I think they're just good people and understand. I mean, my wife is the Sunday school superintendent at St. John's. You know, she understands the importance of church, religion, and how that can shape the athletes just as much as a practice can. So, and I know Coach Peterson well enough too that I know he would, you know, he would fully understand if a kid has a church arrangement after school. So I don't know what the answer is. I would love to meet with the group and figure this out. I think that's just as a show of good faith, I would absolutely love to meet with you guys and see if we could find some common ground. I get torn because on one side I'm the athletic director, on the other side I'm a church councilman in my church. And so I'm hearing it from both sides, and I see the merits to both arguments. So I think hopefully we can see if we can figure out some common ground. I would say I get conflicted because I would say kudos to Coach Peterson too, but the junior high football program has looked, I think, as good as it has in many years this year. Now, is that a result of Wednesday practices having more continuity? I think maybe it's got a little bit to do with that, but the church councilman in me is saying, well, okay, but at what cost? At what cost is that a little bit of added success coming? And that's what I would like to just sit down and say, okay, what can we do? How can we word this? What's going to make the most sense? So I'm good with it. I think we can have a conversation and hopefully come together.
Tom, one of the questions that I received a lot of was, why did you start this year? And I wasn't 100%, but I think it came out in negotiations, right?
Correct.
So in negotiations, we said we want more practice time and longer seasons. So that's where it came from.
Correct.
Yeah, we debated it twice during negotiations, and then we voted on it, when we approved the contracts, and so we're gonna have to look at that contractually, if we can back out of what we have already signed. I think that's one thing, and another thing, I just want to address the Ministerial Association. First of all, thank you everybody for coming. Bear with me, I'm getting over a cold here, but Tom, I'm gonna defend Tom a little bit here. I think you were misquoted in the newspaper when
Every single one of them.
the Ministerial Association. It was me. I was the one that said during that meeting that I would like to challenge the Ministerial Association to help us get together and try to figure this out. Because so many times that it's not your group, but so many times when we make decisions, all we hear in the public is, why did you do this? Why did you do that? And it gets frustrating as a board member when I want to say back to them, why don't you get involved? Why don't you help us make these decisions? And so I'm glad that everybody's here voicing their concerns and helping us make these decisions. This is the first time I've heard some of these numbers. It's interesting to hear how many kids are out for sports and the few that are actually attending the Wednesday practices. Nobody's here to slight any kid or under no circumstance should there be bullying or forcing kids or coaches to make those decisions. But this is a tough one, but we do hear a lot. This is, I think, Lori, my 10th year in the board, and this is, I would say, 7 or 8 of the 10 years I've been around. This has been talked about. What do we do with the kids that aren't part of the church groups? How do we keep them involved? And when I read some of these letters, unlike Tom, I can't let that unsigned letter go. There was a lot of accusations in there that just really cut deep to the bone. Sports isn't about winning and losing. It's not about state titles. It's about creating well-rounded individuals to go out in life and succeed. And there's a lot of kids that are not going to church that really need those sports the most to help them, try to round them out and try to teach them to be team players and be a part of something. So this is a tough one. I agree with tabling the vote. We're missing a board member today. I think that we need to gather some more information and try to make the best decision that we possibly can. So those are my 2 cents.
And I have no problem owning that I knew Ron Colley had practices on Wednesday, folks. I mean, I've spoken with many people in Ron Colley. And I said in board meetings, and if you go back on Bearcat TV, I've said, if the Catholic Church School can have practices on Wednesday after, let me finish, sir.
Okay, go ahead, I'm just
Yeah,
wondering.
I'll get you. Go ahead, finish. Yeah. Wednesday afternoons at 3:30, then Webster came. Now, that was my opinion. And again, I'm good with tabling the issue, but I just want everybody to know where we got our information from, what we made our decisions on. Ron Colley, that's what I've been told by Ron Colley parents and folks. You may disagree with me now, if you'd like to.
No, I just want to point out, the reason why Ron Colley can have Wednesday practices is because they do their religious education during the school day.
Sure, but again, I'm just telling you, I respect that. I'm just telling you my train of thought. So again, we're trying to get the whole group where it came up in, said it came up in a May, April, whatever month we had negotiations, vote. I'm just giving you where we're at. But anyway, we could talk this thing to death, and that's good, but we're gonna have a little bit more of a board meeting, so if you're good with tabling it, Joel, to next month.
I'd make the motion to table
Okay,
it.
do I have a second?
Action item D till next month.
Second.
Thank you, Larry. Any further discussion?
Can I make one more comment?
Yep.
Because it came up in all of this conversation. Our non-discrimination statement in our handbooks, this is the first year that we've included it in the handbooks. And I don't just pick and choose one out of the sky. That statement was provided to us through the Northeast Special Services Co-op, and they're the end agency that we kind of rely on to get our federal statements. Those statements are, I'm not sure who creates them or where they get them, but we rely on the co-op to provide that. One of the questions was, why is religion not included? And it has been included in non-discrimination statements previously. I can't give you that answer. I don't disagree that religion should be included. So, and this is on behalf of a conversation that Kathy Mellon and I had. We'll certainly look into that, and if it's something that we can include, I don't have any problem. I'm just not sure why it's not included in the one that we were provided. And this is the first year that we've included in the handbook. I think that was one of the changes. And that was by our legal counsel that said you should include that in your handbooks as well. Previously, it had not been a part of the handbook.
You may not believe this, but we read these policies all of the time, and I do read them, and I do question Jim on the wording on them. We do change it. We try. Guess what, folks? Sometimes we make a mistake. There's no evil intent. If you've got an issue, please pick up the phone and bring it to our attention in a nice way. None of us are here to attack the church, but I can definitely tell you, the last few days, it hasn't necessarily felt the same way from the church back on this side, okay? We want to work with you. We're trying to do our best. So, I had a motion, I had a second. Any other discussion? Aaron, you got anything?
Oh, we'll wait till next month.
All in favor, say aye.
You have a question?
We got the vote now. Go ahead, we'll get you up.
My question is just about how we can contact you. You said just pick up the phone.
Well, my number, see, I got this law office downtown, says my name on it, walk in the door, call me 345-3321. I can tell you that you called my office, you got my email address, my staff gave it out. I mean, you can get a hold of us.
Could I make a recommendation?
Yeah.
As elected board members, would your information be okay to put on the website as board members? And
Well, I'll be honest with you, sometimes, look, even the person that wrote the unsigned letter to me that tells me I'm going to hell, he figured out my 1112 West 1st Street, now it's on the TV, you can put it in the Reporter and Farmer if you want. That's my physical address. Us board members, you know, I challenge you to sit in a school board member spot, but Josh Vardis one time told me, Tom, you're dealing with the two most important things in people's lives, their kids and their money. And this position is hard. It is a hard position. And I don't know really if sometimes people recognize how hard it is unless they've sat in this position. And I think that our information is out there enough. I've never had a hard time where somebody said, boy, I don't know where Tom Santa stands on something in the city of Webster. Okay? We put it out on Bearcat TV. We can find Larry. Aaron's got a Main Street business. Webster Scale's got a small little operation north of town. Marty Luenga. We're available. Stop and talk to us. Numerous people stop and talk to us at games, the public, events. You know, again, if we can just have civil conversation about it, it's so much better. So with that being said, I've got a motion, I've got a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll have Nathan get in touch with Pastor Mike, and we'll figure out how to get this thing tabled, and hopefully we can come up with a better answer. And appreciate your time and your letter.
I would just say that thank you for your comments. And I feel very bad that you received a letter disparaging you or accusing you or threatening you in any way. That's definitely not our intent here today. We want to come together with you guys in the spirit of cooperation. So we appreciate everything you guys do for our kids and for our families. I do want to point out that we are available to you, you know, as the school board, the ministerial association. And that is just one of our concerns, is we wanted and we still want you guys to reach out to us across that aisle and connect with us. So we are available to you. And you know, you have our contact information. So feel free to do that as we lead up to this next meeting. We want to come into collaboration with you, okay?
And if it doesn't work November, it can be December, whatever, take the time that is necessary to come to a good solution. So appreciate you coming in, appreciate your comments. Thank you. Okay, that's all right. Anybody else here to speak on something other than that? All right, then we're going to go ahead and thanks for coming, folks. We're going to go ahead and move on. Motion to approve the minutes of our regular meeting on September 9th. Thank you, Aaron. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Larry. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve the financial statements as presented. Thank you, Joel, and I think that was Aaron, correct? Second? Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve the claims as presented. Thank you, Joel. Second?
Third.
Thank you, Aaron. Sorry, I wasn't listening. Sometimes I don't hear. Doesn't good when I do that in an auction. Discussion.
Some of those kitchen exhaust fan repairs, that's in the old kitchen, right? Not the new.
Correct.
Okay.
Anything else on claims? All in favor say aye.
Aye. I do have one question.
Yeah,
Welders.
What?
Welders. Did we add welders?
Yes,
We added? Okay.
I think 4, right?
yes.
Good.
They were in the budget.
Good.
All right,
Good.
we good now? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve the snow removal bid, which was contained in your board packet. Thank you, Aaron. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Joel. Discussion?
I see you had in there for falling and stuff. I imagine you'll have to consider hauling off-site or moving it across the street, what we want him to do.
Do we make that decision when it comes time to haul, whether to haul or not? That's our
Usually it
decision.
depends on the winter and how
Yep.
much snow we get and how much is piling up and where it's piling up.
And can we request him putting it across the street?
So we didn't have much snow last year. I'm not sure how that happened. I hope it happens again. But we didn't really get to the point last year where we were talking about going. Originally, we had planned on putting some where the turf football field is, so that's out of option. So I think the only option we have prior to moving it out is going straight to the east in that southeast parking lot. And we did have, prior to that, we did have them store it or down in that southeast corner of that parking lot in previous years. Most of that snow was from those 2 parking lots as well, the gravel parking lots. But
Where are we at with the takedown of the other house?
we haven't received a quote, but we've requested quotes. Haven't received anything.
I
That would
thought
be
our
another
discussion
thing.
was we were gonna do it at the same time
Yeah.
as
Yeah, hopefully.
The 50s.
when we do the wing.
Okay. Because even that area would still have some area to store snow there too, that, not as
Yeah, we
easy.
would, but that would be moving it north around the house and all that other
Yeah.
stuff, so it wouldn't be as easy to do that. But it would be a place to keep it.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve our delegate.
Larry is the delegate?
Yeah. All right, Joel said Larry is the delegate. Do we got a second?
Second.
Aaron said second. Aaron, do you want to be the delegate?
Where's Marty?
Oh, we could pick Marty. He's not here. He's not here to defend himself. I'm all in favor of that. I'm not available that day. I do think it's you've gone before, Larry, correct?
I've gone.
I think it's really good. The year I went was the year that they were considering taking the Pledge of Allegiance out of the school, and I stopped that. That was a good time, and I enjoyed that conversation. So I think it's good that we send somebody. Who do we want to send?
It was on Monday, I think.
It's 22nd,
Friday.
Randy.
Larry, do you want to go?
Well, it's possible.
Well, possible is almost good enough.
But if someone else is,
I'm not available.
I'm not.
Right now, why don't we put, if you would be primary, and we can put an alternate as Marty, correct?
all right.
Yep. Let's do that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve the temporary salaries provided in the board packet.
So moved.
First, Aaron, second, Joel, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve the criminal background policy revision.
Move.
Thank you, Aaron.
Second.
Thank you, Joel. Discussion.
Is there any big change in this from before?
It's much more extensive.
It's a lot.
It's a lot more to read.
Yeah, it's 14-page policy. We might miss a word here or there, but we're trying to
This is
track.
coming from the state, because
Yeah.
we had a policy in place, and it's basically saying the same thing, it's just a lot longer, but I'm having a criminal background audit, and so this is the policy that the state has recommended for that.
When I read those 14 pages, I don't see where the board is in there for criminal background check.
I can add you.
Even though 2 days is.
Too late for you, though.
Yeah, it's not. It's a good question. I gotta be honest with you, I've never thought of that.
Yeah.
But then you're an elected official.
Yeah, but 2 days.
Yeah, but I mean, even think it's like, so what if you did
And you're
have?
not around students,
Yeah, and if you didn't have.
because the main thing is being around students.
Okay.
Maybe that's probably why.
That's a good question. But you're voted in too, so I don't know how that would work.
Well, we won't go into that.
Is there a statement when you guys are sworn in? Is there a statement regarding any?
Criminal background check, no?
That I remember.
No.
Good question.
But legislators have the same thing. I don't know. Larry, maybe you should bring it up at the delegate assembly.
Like all elected officials.
Reason to go.
There you go. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve a position on the initiated measure 28 opposition resolution.
So moved.
Thank you, Joel. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Aaron. Discussion? So, initiated measure 28 has been well discussed throughout the state by municipalities and other entities such as school districts. Most of the school districts, I think I saw at last report, do you have how many had taken a position on it, Lori? I thought I had read somewhere over 70 school districts had taken a position
Yeah,
on.
I can't remember the exact number.
Initiated measure 28, it was provided to us by the Association of South Dakota School Boards as to whether or not we want to take a position opposing initiated measure 28.
Well, if what our email has is correct, I mean, it includes everything. Alcohol, tobacco, I mean.
Everything.
Everything.
It does.
Anything that is consumable.
Yes.
If you see the Attorney General's explanation, there's actually an argument right now with this initiated Measure 28 group as to what was told, the pro folks, as to what they were supposed to write it as. And it came out definitely on the ballot different than what it was originally discussed.
So then what if the legalization of marijuana ever goes through, is that consumption too then, so there'd be no tax on that either?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know.
There's still city tax, whatever.
But if it falls in this, if it's human consumption, it can't be taxed.
When they do this, they should figure a way to replace the revenue lost.
I think there are extra taxes on alcohol right now that don't exist, or that are above and beyond, like a food tax.
Correct.
I think that's what would happen to marijuana, but I'm not.
Well, it's poor, the law is not well written. I'm in favor of taking a position in opposition of IM 28.
Yeah, they haven't replaced the revenue.
No, they have not, and it would. All right, so you're good with going with taking the position?
Support it.
We oppose IM
Support
28.
opposing.
We oppose, motion carries. Okay? Motion to approve JDH's final application and certificate.
So moved.
Thank you, Joel. Second.
Got it?
Aaron? Thanks. Didn't hear it. All in favor? Discussion.
So this is the final pay estimate,
Zero.
which was a 0. And, so does the warranty clock on the final project start now, or did that start
That
at
started in November.
Okay. So our project total was $9,500,767. That is at, or actually well below our anticipated budget. I mean, I think we did really good, and the total change orders on the whole project were $125,000. I think that's just
That's phenomenal.
phenomenal.
We were
Yeah.
less than
On a cost
1%.
that size.
What was projected? What were we?
I think they planned 10.
Yeah, usually you shoot for 10%.
Wasn't it 10% contingency?
Well, we planned, but
No,
Yeah.
what was it?
the actual negotiated with JDH wasn't 10.
Oh, no, correct. I was just talking about the contingency was, and then the change order was the 125.
Well, we wanted to stay under 11, Aaron. I mean, that was
Yeah, that was totally.
under 11 million was the initial
We were
goal.
within less than 1% of what JDH quoted.
Correct.
We had a good project, largely in part to Dr. Block's involvement and Larry's involvement. So Larry, I'm gonna keep giving you kudos till you leave here.
It's only a few months.
I don't know about that, Larry.
But Larry needs to be recognized, and Dr. Block and Lori, just
Oh,
all
you
the
were there,
work that went
Joe.
into that project. You guys made a good project.
You were there.
Larry's construction experience was invaluable for
Yep.
that whole process.
I still only have a few months.
And Larry did a great job. The reason why I think our contract came in at that budgetary
Yes.
amount. I mean, he spent the time down here. He was here working with the contractors and making sure everything was taken care of. And I agree, Larry. I mean, I don't have that mind, and I really appreciate everything you did on behalf of the school, because that's a great facility that's gonna last us for a long time. You really made it come together for us at the end. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to talk about the, I almost want to say doggone old boiler repairs.
So move.
All right, thank you, Joel. Second, Aaron. Discussion.
I don't know how deep we're gonna get into discussion for buildings and grounds, but basically the action item is, we've been given a quote via email. It's not an actual quote written down, but they believe they can repair the old boiler for 14,000 plus, give or take some, to get it running again and in a certifiable manner so that it can be certified through the state, whoever does that certifying. I don't know if it's the fire marshals or some boiler inspection place, but.
So let's go,
So your decision is that.
let's go right to Nathan then. Nathan, tell us where you're at.
So, what I've been looking at is alternatives then, because this was another curveball here that we weren't preparing for. We thought we were gonna have more time.
Time critical. I emailed this to our board members, but I did update it since then, so.
And this is happening because we did not pass
Dr.
inspection.
Block, you updated it since that emailed one?
I think I did.
Can I have a new one then? Sorry.
Yeah, when,
Yeah, these are several locations that we've looked at, we've measured. Some of them are no longer options.
just for the record, just because, I mean, so the public knows, the number of locations that they have looked at in the last 2 months is the batting cage, the NAP building, the elementary gym, new storage garage, Webster building on the West building on the Armory, lumber storage north, Masonic Temple, Old Pizza Ranch, Roslyn Gym.
We've looked at, we've measured the upstairs library of the city hall. I mean, this has been kind of very, very time consuming the last few months, trying to unturn every stone in town, just to see if it would be a viable option. Both in the way of a wrestling room and of course Coach Wagner's concerned with the weight room part of it too, because we do have a fair amount of weight equipment that would have to find a new home, either in the short term or long term. My personal opinion, and I think it could be doable, is I really, really like that west building at the Armory. We've been in there a couple of times now just to see what it could look like, potential long-term fix for this issue. And I think cost-wise, I think we could do it. You know, is it going to be done day one of practice this year? Maybe not, but I don't think it would take too long. I really don't.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
What's the city's position on that building?
Well, so I've talked to Mike on it, but this was a couple months ago, and my feeling was as long as we could find a home for the city. They do have some surplus items in there. There's some fertilizer in there, some Christmas lights and things. There are a couple trucks that need to go in there. We would have to work that out with the city and figure out where we could find for an alternate location for those things.
Would that be our responsibility as to provide a facility for them, or?
Yeah, some sort of a home for them. I'm not sure if we would have to build them something or just find them somewhere existing until we could get something built for them or something. Those details I'll have to work out with Mike further. That was before I thought we still had more time. That was before this boiler situation. So we were thinking more 14 months from now rather than 2 months from now. So I would have to revisit that with the mayor and see if he's still on board. If he is still on board, I love it. We've looked at some plans, just some rough concepts on what that could look like, and I get excited about it when I see what it could look like. And then long-term goal then of course would be to connect it either with a corridor or a weight room or something and connect it right to the Armory. And so it's all one facility. Just make it all one big facility. In that situation, we could host wrestling tournaments because that could house a third mat for either like a girls bracket or the wrestlebacks bracket could be in that practice facility. Now we get that three mat space to host region meets or region tournaments, bigger tournaments, stuff like that. We've had to limit our tournament, our holiday tournament that we've had for decades because nobody wants to go to a 2-mat tournament anymore. They just take forever.
So where would you put the weight room then in the meantime?
Well, I don't know, Tyler and I met with Mark Christensen yesterday. We measured the Masonic Temple. I mean, there's discussions Mark would have to have on his side with the Masons to see if that's something they'd be in favor of. They want the temple used, and the fact that it would be for youth, I think some of them would be receptive to that. But he didn't want to speak for everybody, and I get that too. The size-wise, I think we could make it work. I'm not sure about what it would cost to lease it or rent it or whatever. We would have to have that conversation later. We've also looked at if it's temporary, we don't mind the classroom at the Armory too. It's right on site, you know, it's right there. It's big enough, I think, for something temporary. It doesn't get used a ton, but it is used, so we would have to find a new home for some of those little activities that are going on in there, the team meals and coaches meetings at our wrestling tournament, things like that. We could find an alternate spot.
When does practice typically start for wrestling?
November 18th.
And they think they could have, who did you contact about doing it?
I've been in touch with Tom Squires about a big project and also something for the wrestlers now that this was, you know, a little bit accelerated. And he did get me some concepts. I have some drawings. We haven't made those public yet because we don't know exactly where we're at on things. And to be honest, we were going to wait for this meeting to see what was going to happen with the decision of the boiler too. Just to see how much time we have and things like that. It's just hard to know what to tell him because we don't have a clear timeline on what needs to happen either. If the wrestlers had a home for a year, we could look at other options too.
I don't see him getting that finished in time for starting wrestling.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Joel, you've taken a look. There's not as much stuff in there as I thought. There really isn't. I mean, we could have that thing cleared out. I mean, if enough people were willing and excited about it, I think we could get that thing cleared out pretty quick. But that's going to take city approval too and things like that. I mean, there's some hoops to jump through first. I don't know.
We would also, correct me if I'm wrong, but we would also have to advertise, I would even say for a remodel, because it's most likely going to be above our
Is it 50?
capital outlay, you know.
Is it 50, is it, we're at the 100,000 is now
For
the,
improvements.
for improvements? So if it's less than 100,000, and if it's over, then you gotta go for bids. Okay.
So then the question is, do we remain in the wrestling room? One of the talks was, well, depending on how cold it gets, how quickly, we might be able to use residual heat from the rest of the building for the wrestling room until it obviously gets bitter cold, and it's going to be colder down there. In the elementary gym, is that a backup plan until we get them moved in? There's a lot of things that could happen, but it would be a pretty tight timeline. So I guess in my conversations that I've been involved in, I've never expected it's going to be done by the first day of practice. That's just not realistic. And so
I would say early December.
You got to advertise, you got to find a construction company, you got to have plans. Maybe by Christmas break would be your best case scenario, and that's pretty. I'm just throwing out reality.
Oh, yeah, I think Christmas break would be
But we're
lucky.
skipping over our problem here with talking long-term and whatever else. The issue we mainly have right now is that boiler. And that's gonna hinge on a lot of the other discussion we have.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the vote here is, we spend $14,000 on this boiler to get it to pass an inspection. That doesn't mean it's gonna work all winter. Doesn't mean we're gonna not get the $10,000 a month bills that we get every year.
You know, I would see realistically 20, I don't see 14.
Right.
There was other, and then some other inspections, but the one thing, I don't see doing anything in that hole, and I'll just call it a hole. Let's, whatever we do, move it out of there so we can move forward in the future with whatever long-range plans we have. But initially, we need to get that hole emptied, and whether we move it upstairs with possibly that old boiler. There are some boilers available at other schools that they've taken out of use, whether you want to stay with the boiler for heat for the old gym, or if it's possible to put a temporary in there to get through for now, and then we can move forward from that point. But if we're looking at going to the Armory or looking wherever, we still have to deal with this.
And I agree with you, Larry, and my opinion is that we've talked about this issue for over 5 years. We've known this boiler from the
I think it's the 1950s, probably when that 50s.
39 with the boiler.
39?
I believe. The wing is 50.
Either way, either if it's 1950 or if it's 1940, we got 70 to 80 years out of this boiler. We've done well, and I just don't see us, it's not a good use of taxpayer dollars to invest 14 or 20,000, or like you said, Joel, we could invest 14,000 in it, and month number 2, they're like, good news, it doesn't
They're not
work.
replacing all the pipes, correct?
No.
So all the old rusty pipes are still in there?
They would repair the inlet or intake, whatever provides the water to the boiler, that one has to be replaced because it has far too many patches on it. I mean, the gentleman said, yeah, you can't have that pipe anymore. Not a huge cost with that. All of the underbelly to the boiler, unfortunately, because it's leaked, the insulation and the metal has fallen off, and so that has to be replaced. They're not replacing all of the tubes. I can't give you a count as to how many tubes are replaced, but they will get it so that it's legally functional, because you can only have so many so many tubes that can be down in order for it to be certified. But I don't know those exact numbers.
You know,
it would be functional.
And I want to say too, just so that the community's 100% aware, we're lucky the boiler took us this long. Thank you to the Dan Nashes of the world that kept it going year after year after year after year. I mean, it's just, there's going to come a time, it was going to be done. We're there. And I just don't think it's a good idea to invest any money. I would rather invest $14,000 or $20,000 into whatever ideas you guys can come up with. I mean, that's $14,000 to $20,000 is a lot of money.
I'm thinking immediate.
And we've got the elementary gym, which we have said since day one. I know it's not the perfect spot, but the elementary gym can be made available for the wrestlers, and I know that could make it difficult for other grade school teams, but we've got facilities where the wrestlers can be.
Is
It's
there
just
any
not gonna
concern
be,
with the floor, with the new floor that was just put down?
unless if you tell me there is.
So Craig contacted Chad, who was the person that helped get that floor in place. You wanted to share?
Yeah, I called Chad Gullington and he said, yeah, there shouldn't be an issue with laying the floor down.
Mats on it, but we would need
I mean,
to
the
put
mat on the floor.
a paper barrier between it, like the paper that you use when you're sheet rocking and things like that to keep your floor protected.
Yeah, he said you wouldn't necessarily have to do that, but just out of precaution would be a good idea.
So again, we have alternatives. I'm not trying to punish anybody. I mean, where are you at on it, Tyler?
You know, I don't want to speak for the entire wrestling community. I kind of thought maybe somebody else would be here to kind of speak on that. I'm kind of involved in that community. But, you know, I think I'm pretty confident in saying that that's not what they want.
That was their, I mean, just be honest, that was their
That's
last
where they're at.
option.
Yeah, that's.
They want
In
the
some
boiler.
cases.
I'll just say it, they do. I've heard from enough of them. They want us to buy another year if they had their way.
And their main focus is at the high school wrestling program or the little kids wrestling program? Driving the show.
I think, I'm pretty sure both. The people I've talked to are, one I talked to last night was the youth, and then when I talked to you yesterday morning was high school staff.
You know, when we walk out of the school building here and we go out to our real jobs in the public, when we have to spend money, we're able to go out and earn the revenue that it takes to replace what we can't do that here. We're limited by our taxpayer budget. I'm just so sick and tired of beating this drum. We've been doing it for 5 years, and we're being forced into a decision here by our boiler that won't pass an inspection. But it just seems foolish to me to spend this $14,000, which Larry's right, it'll probably be closer to 20. And then what's next month? What's coming next? We deal with this every year, that boiler.
That's with anything you have. You fixing everything you just don't know.
Yeah. But this boiler, we know, I mean, since I've been around, every month.
But for an immediate, a month, we got a month to find them a place to go.
We still have the insurance issue in the spring.
Yeah. Correct.
Insurance what?
Our insurance issue in the spring.
Oh,
I mean, we're still gonna have a wrestling program. I mean, it's going to happen. It's just not, again, I'm not making this decision because we wanna punish somebody or we're anti it. It's just in the best interest of the school district. I think we gotta, if we're gonna invest $14,000 to $20,000, then let's invest the $14,000 to $20,000 in the future, and let's get going, and let's kick this thing into high. And if you think that's our best bet with the athletic director's position, then start having the conversations with the city and see what we can get done between now and our next meeting. And if we need to have a special meeting, we'll have a special meeting. I think we just gotta give instructions, because the longer we keep, pushing this issue down the road, I think it's snowballing, it's getting worse. So where I'm at, guys, is.
So do the wrestlers not want that building at all, or they just want, for right now, they want the boiler fixed?
I think in an ideal world, they would have that room for another year. I think, aside from that, the last place that they would want to go is the elementary gym, and that's why we've been kind of working our tails off to explore any and every other possible option.
I mean, long term, would they be okay in that armory building?
We've kind of heard some concerns about
mixed.
that.
I would say mixed. I think the people I've talked to on the youth side they're fine with it. They think that's a pretty good location. To be honest, I don't know where Wade and Spencer are on it, but I don't know that they've seen our last concepts either. Because in fairness, I just got those Friday. So that I haven't seen those guys, I haven't had time. Of course, Wade had the football game Friday night. I'll share those with him and kind of see where his, kind of check his pulse on it and see where he's at.
Can the wrestlers use the Masonic Temple?
It's not wide enough. It's only 24 feet wide. The wrestling that's 44, or 42 feet.
42 by 42.
So just, with a little more width, I think we could make it work, but it just doesn't work. Yeah, it just doesn't work. If they knocked out one wall in the upper library of City Hall, that would work great. I just don't know how crazy they'd be about the youth program being up and down the stairs, right above the library. I'm not sure. I don't want to speak for them, but I don't know if they'd be crazy about that. Location-wise, it'd be great, right by the school. They could walk up there.
We held school, if you recall, back in City Hall back in the day.
Yep.
So, there's a lot of traffic up and down then.
One of the options that is on there is, and it hasn't been discussed much at a meeting, but it's been discussed in other conversations in smaller meetings, is perhaps building a shop that would be basically storage, custodial, and vehicle storage in that north parking lot. We have the 3 stall garages there. If we could build something that would take up the entire space, not just a garage on the north half of the. The only thing is, could we get something built by Christmas? And will it meet specs of being able to use it as a wrestling room? But it's possible that that's an option too. But that's also something we can look at as a district later on.
So would you put like locker rooms in it then, or shower?
It would probably, my own visual thought was that it would be large enough to have the 2 mid buses and maybe 2 other vehicles could park in there. You could do a mezzanine on the north half of it, so you have your steps and things for the wrestlers. You'd have maybe 2 restrooms. The water and the sewer is already in that lot, or accessible to the lot, because it's an old residential lot. So there's some thought there, but can you get a building put up by Christmas, insulated and ready for? The one thing that I'm concerned about, regardless of where we go, is what we have to do for fire safety, fire evacuation, all of those things. I don't know how that works if we were to lease a building versus if we build a building. I'm sure there's differences there.
Yeah. On that plot, I did some measures. There's room for about a 45 by 90 structure over there. Now, and of course, when you talk Masonic Temple or whatever, and we start talking 100,000, a new structure heated would be in the that size would be a little over 300,000. So if we start talking 100,000 remodeling something which, and we do need storage and whatever, when this wing is removed, so down the road, there's gonna, no matter what we do, there's gonna be a year or two in between where you're moving people around. But in the meantime, to tear this down, we need a place to put the stuff, rest or someplace, so it's not much different than the CTE program moving down on Main Street. We're gonna have to deal with that. But I'm just thinking if we're gonna put money into remodeling something that's off campus that we don't own, I would rather see something. Now, do we need an architect to do a 45 by 90, a 4,000 square foot building, or can we just have it done?
I think you could just contract with a contractor and have your general floor plan figured out. Because it would basically be a temporary space for wrestling and become a shop shed thereafter.
Storage and whatever else. And if we were to do that, then we could move, empty that whole, whatever, someplace to move stuff, start emptying that, put the 14 or 20,000 into getting that old boiler out of there.
And we will need a facility like I'm describing in the long term when the 50s wing is gone, the old ag shop is gone. It would help for receiving, for storage, we want to put the buses inside if we can, we just don't have a shed or a garage large enough. That is actually more a safety issue than it is anything else, because our teachers and coaches that we expect to drive are walking over there, they're walking through the snowbank to get to the vehicle, and then you gotta clean it off. You know, if you have them indoors, they're not full of ice and snow and everything else, so it's...
So, let's do this then, I agree. Let's get back to the boiler though. Before we get to the garage, we get to these other spots. I'm playing my Larry card here. I'm just gonna call it. I mean, we've got the issue, we've discussed it. Do we have any more questions on whether or not we want to approve the old boiler repairs? If not, I'll start off. I want to be clear, I am for the wrestling program. I like wrestling, all right? Make sure that gets back. But I'm not in favor of spending $14,000 plus on fixing the boiler. So that's my vote. So I would vote no, and I'd rather put the money towards the future. Joel?
Well, I'm still making a decision here. I mean, if we build a building over here, that doesn't help. I mean, if we use it for wrestling, we're not using it for storage. You know, so it doesn't help with tearing down the 50s wing. You know, we've got the elementary gym, that's been our plan. You know, when we talk to the basketball program, you know, the varsity level program, they don't want to practice. If they have to make a choice between our new high school gym or going to Roslyn, they go to Roslyn. I wonder if the varsity wrestling team would ever consider if we could rent the space in Bristol at this new Sniper Wrestling Academy.
Aren't there basketball practices in Roslyn?
Absolutely. Every day the gym is booked.
So how can
every day?
How can the wrestlers go to Roslyn?
He said Bristol. Bristol.
Oh.
The Sniper Wrestling Academy in Bristol. Is there an opportunity there to rent some space from them? If they don't like the elementary gym, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
I know the high school would be more receptive to that than the youth. A lot of the youth come from the Waubee area, and they think that might be too far for them. I know as a school board, you're more concerned about the varsity side than the youth.
I want to make it clear, I'm the biggest supporter of the wrestling program in Webster, and so
yeah.
I get that. But it is also not our responsibility to provide the youth with a place to practice. With that said, would they entertain the idea of helping us offset the cost of this $14,000 boiler repair if they are so insistent on not using the options we're providing?
That's a good question. Yeah, that's a question.
Does that make any sense?
We share some programs with Waubee, is basketball, whatever, is it possible to talk to Waubee about using their gym for wrestling?
They only have one. Which of
Yeah,
number of gyms?
I don't know what their co-op with the Mustangs or whatever,
They don't have the facilities
practice.
for wrestling.
Yeah, I'm just asking for basketball summit and their other programs. I know they were talking about starting an FFA program and some other things.
Yeah, because I just met with her last week to come up with a wrestling, for our wrestling co-op agreement, and she said they don't have the facilities or.
Okay. Gotta make some hard decisions, guys.
I thought it would cost more to get that boiler up and running. I'm okay spending $14,000-$15,000 to have them a place to rent.
Hey, do you know?
Okay. So we got, Aaron's okay with it? Larry?
I'd rather spend that money plus a little more and move it out of that hole.
So you're a no?
Yeah, I'm a no.
Joel?
I'm gonna wait for the answer to that phone call.
What was he doing? I didn't hear.
He's talking to the youth group.
And then how much?
I mean, to build something and use it this year, it isn't gonna happen. To remodel the building at the Armory and use it this year, not gonna happen.
No, the cost of that.
Aaron, what do you think? You were down there. What do you think of the Armory building?
If it works, that's fine, but it's not gonna work this year. I just ain't gonna happen.
Yes, they would provide a few $1,000.
The cost of that would be the same as new, I think.
Probably.
I'm gonna just be honest with you, even if they provide $3,000, I think it's hard to look at the rest of the taxpayers and say, I'm putting $10,000 plus, and we could put $14,000 into this boiler, and 30 days later, be right back and say, doesn't work. We've talked about this issue for so long, I'm just not in favor of investing in that old boiler.
So what happens if I vote spend the money?
Either way, it doesn't pass. We gotta table it for another month. Kick the can again. Wouldn't be the first time.
Well, our option since day one is the elementary gym.
Yeah.
So by me voting yes, we're not spending the money, we're forcing the other people to make some decisions as well.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so you're voting,
Spend the money.
you're voting yes to spend the money. So
Yep.
we've got 2 to spend the money, we've got 2 not to spend the money, so it doesn't pass, because we don't have a majority. And so what we will do is we will kick this can down the road for another month. What I would encourage you to do.
So as of right now, we're not spending the money.
Correct. We are not.
You need to make that clear.
Yeah, I mean,
We are not fixing the boiler.
Correct.
Lori, they'll need to do an actual roll call vote.
Well.
That just,
I
that
feel like
was the
we'll
actual
hold it.
one.
Aaron, yes. Larry, no. Tom, no. Joel, yes.
Motion fails.
Motion fails.
So we are not spending the money to
Correct.
fix the boiler.
Because you need a 3-person vote on the board for a majority. We only have 5 members. So,
We're not fixing the boiler.
We're not fixing the
Now,
boiler.
we could have another.
We're going to the elementary.
Come up with one for each, but
nice job on the vote. Really well done politically. You should go to Washington DC. You get to be on the best on both sides now. So, I would tell you this, Nathan.
Yep.
Keep doing the work you're doing. If you have ideas that you can come up with that you think we need to take action on, I don't have a problem calling a special meeting. Just get a hold of Lori, get a hold of us, stay in contact with Jim, and let's just keep working this issue. Does that make sense?
I agree. I think there's gonna be a special meeting in the near future, the way it sounds.
Yeah. Okay, we'll
So,
continue to find out.
Mr. Bloom, question, with it going to the elementary gym, when it does, if it does, does that disrupt the schedule
Well,
during this day, during the school day?
during the school day, I don't,
Because you're gonna-
it depends
the
where
plan
you
is to
put the
take the
mats. I
mats
mean,
up.
that's more of a question for Jay Cox than me. She's the one that is gonna, if she can find alternative activities to do.
Because the plan was to
I
roll
know
the
it's not
mats
gonna
up.
be ideal. Would it prohibit having any gym class in there? No, I mean, I'm sure she can figure something out, but it's definitely not,
Well, wasn't the plan to roll up the mats?
yeah.
So it would free that space up, other than the mats being rolled up against the side of the elementary gym, correct?
Yep.
So that we would be able to use it in terms of PE during the school day.
Yeah, it would just make it even more congested, because some of those classes are pretty sizable, I think.
Even a rolled up mat takes up a fair amount of space.
How many mats rolled up would be in there? Could they go behind the curtain?
And
And then we move the stuff behind the curtain somewhere
It wouldn't be
else?
two fulls, one and a half maybe.
So would we put that paper barrier underneath them to protect the
I
floor?
think we want to within,
I mean, what is that? How do you, does it roll up with the mat? Does it?
I don't even know what that looks like, I don't know.
We'd have to investigate that further and get hold of Chad and see what type of paper it is he's talking about. It's kind of like that painter's paper, I think.
So you're rolling that up and unrolling it, you're probably gonna replace it if it's not a durable thing,
Yeah.
just putting it down every once in a while.
And I will say too, and I've got them on my phone, I went down to Karen and took pictures of what the, now I know our main concern is the varsity programs. There is a ton of elementary programs in there in November and December, essentially every single day. I mean, if you guys want to see the calendar, I can show you. They're gonna be displaced or just have to not even have their programs for a year, which my concern is that stunts the progress and the growth
Yeah,
of
but you
those
know,
programs.
the football team was displaced for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Or wasn't it, at least two? You know, the track team was displaced for how many years? I mean, they didn't even have a meet because we couldn't run on the track. We had a swimming pool that we shut down and we went to Bristol. I get it, it is going to be difficult and people are going to have to make adjustments, but
We had school for a year, and
Yeah.
3 months in churches, city hall, wherever we.
it's going to be difficult, but we're not trying to do it to punish somebody. We're trying to figure out how to go forward, and this thing has been there for 70 or 80 years, 84, whatever the number is, it's either 85 or 74. I mean, that's a long time.
I think the other thing to remember, no matter what happens here, the wrestlers are getting something new.
Yes, it'll be,
They're
they'll have the
getting
newest
something
facility,
new.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the end result is gonna be something that they're gonna be proud of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my goal.
All right. We're done? All right, superintendent report, Dr. Block.
No, hold on, I have it, let's find my note.
Solved every other problem today.
Okay, my notes here, I've got, we just had parent-teacher conferences last Thursday. We've had this conversation with our staff every year, probably for the last 8 to 10 years. Parent-teacher conferences are really not, for the elementary, they're 100%, I believe, in the fall, they make appointments. Our middle school, high school, however, they're just not well attended. A lot of the parents who do come are parents who probably don't need to come because they're, already involved with their kids' education, and so we appreciate those that do come. But we held those on Thursday. I know the numbers were very bleak at the middle school, high school. There's some teachers that maybe had 6, 8 parents show up total. And that's when you're considering you've got your high school, middle school teachers have typically 20 to 25 kids per section, and you have 3 sections, so at most maybe 75 to 80 kids, and you have less than 10 to show up. We haven't found an alternative to that, and maybe it's because Infinite Campus provides the grades, provides the behavioral summary, it provides the attendance summary. Perhaps that communication happens more often than it used to, and therefore conferences are not well attended. There's not another school that I'm aware of that's come up with some neat process or some different process, and so we're still thinking about that on an annual basis. But they went well. I mean, those folks that did come in, things went well, and it's a good time, a good opportunity for parents to meet with teachers regarding their child's academic progress. We had Dare to Share on Friday. That's an in-service that we've been attending in Florence. Mitch Reed is the superintendent down there. He does a great job of providing and coordinating this activity for, I think there's 6 or 7 schools that participate in it. Usually gets a keynote speaker that's, more expensive than what we could probably afford to bring in ourselves, and we share those costs. And then he has several outbreak sessions, everything from South Dakota retirement to strategies in the classroom for discipline. And so we included a school sharing session this year and a teacher sharing session. The teacher sharing is where grade level teachers and subject level teachers get together and share things. The school level was something new this year, and Tammy Block, myself, and Brandy Gingle presented on artificial intelligence and some of the things that we're doing here in Webster. We're not doing a whole lot, but we're learning about it almost daily. We all attended the Northern State Back to School seminar, and they had a guest speaker for that discussed artificial intelligence. He had an unbelievable amount of information and resources, and so we kind of shared what we learned from there. It was actually a nice session. We were packed. We had some standing room only, so they probably have 20 to 25 desks in there, and there were some folks after standing at the back, so it was kind of nice. Personnel record forms, those are the reports that I have to do at the beginning of every year, and then we update them in the spring. Everything is up to date. Within the personnel record forms, with respect to what you guys probably need to know or want to know, is what we do with the teachers that are not fully certified. I have to put together what's called a plan of intent for those that are on alternate certification process, or those that, for instance, if we hired somebody brand new this year and they're missing certification to teach one particular class, most likely what happens in that situation is they'll take a praxis exam to be certified in that. And so all of that is taken care of. We're fully certified in the sense that they're either on a plan of intent if they're not completely certified yet, and that's what we do each year. That's really all I have here for now, unless you have questions.
No, I think it's amazing just trying to figure out how you keep up with AI and how kids can be doing their homework with AI at home.
So it's good that you bring that up. One of the things that we tend to do as educators is we always want to, I'm not going to say this, well, I will say it, but it's not going to sound right. We always want to catch kids doing things wrong. We want to catch them. We want to stop them. And so there are detection tools that we're utilizing. And it's just like when YouTube came out. That was part of our presentation. When YouTube came out, we wanted nothing to do with YouTube. We wanted it shut off in school. We didn't want kids looking at it. Well, now YouTube it's a huge resource for teachers. And we didn't expect it to become that. We always thought it was going to be that bad influence that we wanted to regulate with the kids. And AI that's what we're doing right now, is we're worried about the detection part. We're making sure the kids aren't utilizing AI to write papers and do homework and not do their own work. So we're doing that detection part. But beyond that, what we're trying to do is how can we use it as administrators. Mr. Case and I have used it for emails and letters for editing some things. The kids are going to use it whether we want them to use it or not, so we have to figure out how to teach them to use it responsibly and ethically, and then on top of that, what can we utilize it for resources. So it's not going to, it's just going to be an ongoing thing I think it's kind of exciting, but there's always going to be that part. How do we make sure that we're getting accurate information when we're trying to assess our students?
Okay. Anything else for Dr. Block? Principal report, Mr. Case.
Dr. Block did a pretty good job of covering everything, so I don't have a lot to report. If you haven't been down to the elementary gym, make sure you step in there and take a look at it. Floor looks great. The lines on there looks really good. Good job that they did. So, Otherwise, if you had any questions, let me know.
Track looks good too, happy with that?
Yeah.
Nate?
Yeah, heard some good things. Dr. Block said Groton was even envious, so now they've started to look into resurfacing their track over in Groton too, so that's always good to hear. That we can be the gold standard, I guess.
Yeah,
very happy with it.
just to follow up on that, we have another school district that we did a Zoom with that's looking into doing a playground possibly similar to ours. So we're leading the way.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, when you have as many schools that have come to tour our CTE and now they're touring our playground, I mean, it means that we're progressive in those areas, and so that's a positive thing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Case. What was our final head count?
540,
540?
What did we have planned?
535.
It's K through 12.
Buildings and grounds, or excuse me, NESC. Marty's gone.
Marty wasn't at that last meeting, so, and I see that
And I don't attend those meetings, I attend one that the superintendents have.
there was one action item.
That's a lot.
Okay,
Nothing going on.
buildings and grounds. Is there anything else we gotta discuss? I mean, I think we've hit that one hard enough, haven't we?
I do have something, excuse me. Can I jump in, Dr. Black, for a second?
I was just looking at this list, there's 5 bullets, but we've discussed most of them.
Oh. The Keating family has approached us and they would like to buy a American flag to hang down at the armory. It's one of those that rolls up into the ceiling and rolls down while it's being played. I was gonna bring it down and get it on the agenda, and I was sick last week, so I wasn't able to do that, but I've got a video, so I'll share it with all you guys, and I think we need to put that on the radar and see if we wanna go along with something like that. They have offered to pay for the complete installation of it.
I think that's a great idea. I really support that. But when we look at that, we gotta look at getting those sheets of plywood with the carpet from 30 years ago off the ceiling. I don't remember what volleyball game we were playing the other night, but I saw one of those balls go up hard towards the back. And I'm just thinking, if that hits one of those again, I mean, we're all well aware we've had an issue before in the past. I can't say anything more, but one of those sheets of plywood falls out of the ceiling and hits somebody, that's kind of a major issue. We gotta get rid of that.
They were installed in
1998?
the early 90s.
Early 90s? I get it, they were trying to do stuff for sound, but it's not safe.
It was installed when I was in school.
When you were in school?
Probably sophomore, I suppose.
Geez, that was in the 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, we gotta do something. If we're getting at that, then that needs to be put on the list also.
It was Fritz and Keith Lesnar that installed it. He's been out of town for a long time.
Mike Mose is the one that donated all the carpet remnants, right, from Mose.
It was before my
Furniture.
time coming here, and I came here in 2001. At least part of it was.
Okay. Anything else, buildings and ground? All right. Before we move into executive session for negotiations, our next scheduled board meeting is Monday, November 11th. It's Veterans Day. So, gents, we gotta move that meeting on Monday. Are we okay on, like, November 12th? Does anybody got anything going on the 12th or the?
I'm good.
What's that?
At night?
At night. You would, you can only do Monday night, right?
Or in the mornings. What day did you say?
It's Monday, November
No, the
11th.
12th, you said?
Yeah. Carrie's always wanted to cook, Aaron. She's right here. I mean, I don't know why you can't make her cook.
I want to keep my business open.
See what I gotta put up with?
Carrie, I'm on your side.
Thanks,
okay?
Tom.
I'm here for you.
Could we do it earlier in the day so I'm done?
Yeah, let's see what time, could we go?
Is there school on Monday?
There's no events, right, November 12th? We're not in this,
That's a Tuesday.
it's a Tuesday. Could we
Veterans Day is
go
November, or it's Monday.
Tuesday? Could we do something like, let's say, would 5 o'clock help you, Aaron?
That's when I open.
Well, Carrie can open.
I got a life, Tom, I got a life.
And if we're gonna have a ministerial hearing, it might be a
The
little.
12th is it's volleyball still at 16.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's.
We may or may not be involved with that, but
Wednesday?
Tuesday would be the first.
first round would be the 5th, second round is the 7th.
Could we do Wednesday at 5? You good with that, Larry?
If I was gonna do a day at 5, it'd have to be Tuesday.
Well, let's do this.
What about mornings, no?
I can do mornings
I can
again.
do any morning.
You wanna do a morning?
I'm good.
Should we do Tuesday morning then? Let's do Tuesday morning, 7 o'clock. Does that work for you, Aaron?
Be back on standard time too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can do that.
Larry?
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll plan Tuesday at November 12th at 7 a.m.